Hey there, guys. We're going to be going back to the Rain and Fina crown fight. A friend of mine asked me to show how to do this if you don't have Tidus's STMR for Reagan. So we've taken the STMR off of Reagan, so we no longer have Tidus's STMR. Now that's a pretty big damage loss because his LB is a 200 modifier. Tidus's STMR brings it to 300 modifier, which is a 50% damage gain, and not having that kind of hurts, but we can still very much do it with only Reagan as our primary DPS. So there's the build. We're still capped on everything. So the major change we're doing here, other than dropping the STMR, is we've made Yish our leader. I didn't realize she had a leader skill, and with her leader skill, it buffs the whole part. So it kind of makes up a decent chunk of damage that we lost for not using the STMR. We have also geared Yish for damage. Now, Yish is a pretty dumpster unit, so she's not going to do much damage, but she's going to do a little bit of damage as we get through here and clear it. So let's go ahead and clear the fight, and I'll point out the changes in rotation that we're doing to increase damage a little bit. So it's still very similar to the first clear with some small adjustments. For one thing, we're going to go ahead and LB with Celeste on turn 1, and we're going to triple Katana dual-wielded gauge break on Axstar. Now, one thing different is we're going to be using this cooldown on Reagan. I didn't realize he had this cooldown my first clear. It's kind of like a built-in Tidus STMR. It buffs the modifier of his LB, so it kind of makes up for the fact a little bit that we're not using Tidus's STMR. We'll use magic damage on the boss with Yish. You got to hit magic damage every single turn. And Yoshi will just do a Mirage on turn 1, 5-stack Mirage. Okay, so some attacks, pretty similar to the original clear, but we're making some small adjustments. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and deal some damage. But first of all, let's have General Celeste go to the base form. Then we're going to cover, we're going to mitigate, and we're going to use ice. We're going to use a magic attack. Now, it's got to be a magic attack. A physical attack dealing magic damage won't work. It's got to be a legit magic attack. But we're going to start dealing damage with our Yish as well. So, I'm sorry, not yet. Yish is going to, on this turn, do both of her Magnuses and her big Imperil. Yoshikiri will do Human Killer and Human Mitigation. And then Reagan will LB with a triple Absolute Mirror of Equity Axstar. So we don't have Tidus's STMR, but we do have the cooldown. So we're doing, 25-30% from a burst at this point. A little bit less damage, but it's still going to be enough. Okay, so now we are going to use General Celeste to deal magic damage once again with Blazega in the base form. We're going to reload these two, and now we're going to deal damage with Yish. So Yish is going to deal damage with her LB, and we're going to shift and triple the... Whoop, I hate this bug. We're going to shift and triple the Bolting Strike LB fill move with Yoshikiri. So we're going to send Axstar Reagan first, and then we're going to send Yish and Yoshi, and they're all going to chain together and deal, some damage here. There we go. Okay, almost done. So, Yish contributes a little bit, not a ton of damage, but we got enough. Okay, so now we are going to shift our General Celeste, and we're going to fill LB gauge. We're going to go ahead and use her Dragon Killer cooldown, and then double LB fill, and this will refill Reagan back the rest of the way. Now we can just reload. We've also got our SOB on Yish for even more damage, and we just go ahead and chain it up, and that should be it. And we come in with the end, and boom, there it is. So just like I said in the previous video, if you aren't able to kill by turn 4, you're going to want to guard Celeste and use Yoshikiri's 90% mitigation on Celeste, which would mean Yoshikiri couldn't really shift and contribute, but that'll allow you to extend the clear to turn 5. So here's the damage breakdown. So Reagan still heavily carries this, and like I said, Yish is basically a dumpster fire. She's a terrible damage unit, but we did gear her for damage. She did less than 10% of a free unit. So there it is. There's an all mission clear on this fight without using Tidus's STMR. So I'll show you the gear again. It's basically the same as the first video. So just High Spirit Celeste with some auto healing from Phoenix Synergy. Shift form, same thing. Now, Yish is geared for damage, but again, she's like the worst unit ever. Her damage is absolute shit, but we still did a billion. So there we go. So double-handed spear build, LB damage versus dragons, human, demons, and undead. We've got 225 demon, 250 human, 225 dragon, and 150 undead. No chain cap up because I couldn't fit it, but, you know, there it is. Yoshikiri is in the base form, just mana reduction. Shift form, I geared him for spirit, but, I mean, he did, like, 5 damage, so you don't even need to gear him. But he's a support chainer and Mirage on turn 1. Axstar, dual wielding katanas to get that good break on gauge break on turn 1. And then Reagan is, again, no Tidus STMR, but he's still capped on everything. 11,000 attack power thanks to Yisha's leader skill. So double-handed katana build, you know, killers, etc. Here's the build, here's the setup, a good card. And then he's got, you know, maxed out on demon, human, dragon, undead, maxed LB damage, 11,000 attack power. Also, very important for this, very important for this, make sure your Bahamut has the break gauge bonus skill learned, because that'll increase your damage versus broken enemies by a complete 50%. It is a massive, it is the biggest damage increase in the entire game, because it is a 50% total damage increase while the enemy is gauge broken, and we are breaking the gauge on turn 1. So if your damage on Reagan is low, you probably don't have the gauge break passive learned on Bahamut. That is critically important to increase his damage to that level. Anyway, there it is. And again, if you don't kill on turn 4, you're going to want to have Celeste guard, and you'll use Yoshikiri's 90% mitigation on Celeste, 90% magic mitigation to make Celeste survive that, and you don't fail the no death mission. Anyway, see you in a bit.